Welcome to Let's Talk About It Tuesdays, where I share conversations that I have with successful women, all answering the same questions. And then we simply chat it up a bit. You get to be a fly on the wall in these conversations. It is my joy to share an inside peek of my conversation with Bree Viscaina. As the Director of Volunteer Programs at Defy Ventures, she helps people get back on their feet so they can soar. Bree lives a life of caring, joy, and authenticity. She understands the importance and the value of equipping others for a second chance. Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Happy Wednesday.
I know, right? So you're representing LA?
You know, just for context, I was going to say that I had to last minute take my hair out. And I don't mind sharing this. I think I wasn't like, we obviously booked this way ahead. And I went to the beach over the weekend and I got in the water and like that kind of sped up my need to take it out. And I was like, dang, I have this college help. And I'm like, I'm living in a season of authenticity, and this is just the way it flows. And so no one really cares. Just
Right?
the
Exactly.
energy is all I care about. So I was like, okay, yes, leaning in and just doing my thing. So I have an appointment this evening. But here we are.
Thank you for being here.
You look so beautiful.
Thank you. I got all extra dressed up.
Love it.
Most days I have like big bun in my hair and, but
Same.
so I want to acknowledge that and thank you because part of the reason, even though I got all goopy and like all dressed up, part of the reason that I'm doing this series is so we can show up authentically. And that's why I do it on Zoom and the sound isn't always perfect and the visuals aren't always perfect. And that's life. I don't want this to be a perfectly produced event. I'll do my best to make it look polished and attractive to people so that they want to watch
Yeah.
it. And it's easy to hear and listen to. But I think too, in some ways, especially as women, we feel like we need to present this certain version of ourselves, which is always the best version. And that's not very sustainable.
Yeah, I think especially with the way things shift so quickly now, that's a full-time job.
It is.
Keeping up. So, thank you for your grace and for also just contextualizing all of it. I appreciate it so much.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you being here and I'm looking forward to us getting into some. I have a feeling you and I will probably go deep really fast and love that. So, okay, so I'll just start off with the first question, which is what is quality of life to you?
My gosh, I the first word that comes to mind is sort of the value that I've been trying to lean into in the last year, which is freedom. And I think of freedom being like a standard of like a quality, like a level of excellence within the enjoyability and sort of like the peace and just all these other values sort of fall into it with me. So I think um, quality of life is easily in tune with the level of freedom I feel, and that comes in every capacity of my life. That is within like my own self sort of relationship with myself. And then also obviously professionally, I think it comes into play with my friendships and like my familyhood, um, my role as a daughter, as a friend, as a potential partner. Um, I think freedom is it's so cool because I'm sure we'll get into a little bit about what I get to do for work, but freedom means different things to everyone, even though it can be defined very simply. It's not as easy, like, it's not always just that easy definition. It can be a million different things. And in my own life, it actually is several different things. So I think from the grand scheme of it all, quality of life is like, I want to feel freedom in the sense of like peace. And I maybe 2 years ago, used to do, like, temp checks with myself, like, "What's making me anxious right now?" I would probably check in with myself, like, 2 or 3 times a day, like, "What's my biggest worry?" And there was always, like, a high, medium, and a low, And I have not found myself doing that in a really, really long time. I think I maybe do it now, maybe like once every 2 weeks. I'll do this sort of a check in, like what's the biggest worry in my life right now, and it can be something as small as like a bad conversation I had at work 2 hours earlier, and it's like lingering with me. But it also could be like, dang, there's some paperwork I have to get filed on the grander scheme of things, and I haven't taken care of it. But it used to be like down to like, what am I gonna eat in an hour? Or like I said a weird thing, like I made a weird face when I said that thing to that person, and it would just eat me and eat me. And I felt so like bogged down by this anxiety of like how I was perceived, the impact I had, not really letting my heart and intention calm those things.
Mm. Yeah.
um, and so now I find myself checking in into my quality of life with like I'm not doing it in the same way, and I feel free in being linked to like being at peace with I trust that I'm moving with intention. I trust that the things I said, the face I made, the makeup being smeared or like not wiping the table after I got up or whatever it might be, like those things don't define the moments. It's like how I'm showing up and the way I'm pouring in and like just my presence sometimes is the thing. And so I just have more trust with myself and more grace, like forgiveness and grace. And so like that brings peace, which makes me feel free and ultimately like creates this sort of satisfaction with how I'm operating. Um and living ultimately because operating to me sometimes kind of feels a little robotic and corporate. I think it's just living. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And as you were saying it, there was two things. One of them that I was thinking immediately was a lot of the times how we associate, or maybe just me, how I've associated freedom, or I see other people associate freedom with outside. It's outside of us, the things we're able
Mhm,
to do, and the privileges that we're able to have, and the rights that we're able to pursue.
mhm.
I hear a beautiful contrast to that, which is what's on the inside, and that ultimately is expressed on the outside. And I love how you broke that down, just almost like to a molecular way of an example of it looks like this inside of me. But I am also imagine that that comes out of you in the because of the work you do on the inside in a way that expresses yourself in a freer way. Have you found that to be true?
Yes, I think it's been funny to both hear it organically from other folks, but then also to hear it like so I have a coach I see every week, every Tuesday. She's my therapist, but I call her my coach because really she's on the sidelines with me, talking me through these things that I'm going through every single week. And from family, like I said, to professional, to personal relationships, things like that. Um, and it's funny to hear it organically versus the way we sort of break it down in our sessions. And I've been operating pretty much like when I'm sort of presenting it and just like expressing this piece that I have, like when it kind of just organically comes out, I get feedback from folks. They're like, "You make me feel like I could just be myself, like
Mhm.
that I can like
Yeah,
it makes me also want to be vulnerable because I often
yeah,
communicate in like first order thinking. Like I very much just word vomit or like just say things the way I want to. And yeah, sometimes I like to pride myself on having a cool vocabulary and like plugging in words and like sounding kind of fun. But ultimately, like I'm just word dumping. And I think that models like a level of like eat like there's no pressure for other folks. And that sort of piece within me of like, I don't really care
yeah.
how it's received, but like the perception of how I'm presenting myself. Um, allows other people to just feel at ease. Like it's not like they can let their guard down. Now, like when in discussing with my coach, he's like, you're a messy girl. you have messy thoughts, and you know you're not perfect. Like, obviously, none of us are.
Mhm.
And she was like, I think your golden ticket is when you lean into the vulnerability of like being messy and not perfect, and like the first order word dump thinking, and like not using ChatGPT to always help you draft the perfect breakup text, like not using ChatGPT to help you frame a request from a professional or some like from somebody at work. Like, ask the way Bree asks and speak the way Bree asks, because it's gotten you this far, and like that's what people appreciate the most about you. And you said that recently, and I was like, whoa, yes. Have I started to veer away from that out of like I need to like level up a little bit? And so and I found myself hitting walls with it, where it was like I can't create a response quick enough, like that's polished enough. I with that wall, I've been struggling, and she's like, "I think we need to get back to the basics," which is ultimately you just being your silly, messy, unproduced self. And I've been trying to do that the last like 2 or 3 weeks, and it has brought me back to myself. And
Mhm.
I've gotten compliments on it more recently, and I'm like, "Oh, okay." Thanks to both the
Yeah.
coaching, but then also like I think I very much am a spiritual person. And I do believe like things happen the way they should, and I try and have trust you know, the higher beings that are all around us. And I do think like it came at an interesting time to kind of discover this, because um, I have a feeling it's going to come into play soon. Like, I can just feel like I'm
Right.
getting trained for something bigger. So anyway, yeah, I think in terms of like how it's perceived and received, and then like pushed, like put back towards me from others, like it's best when organic, unproduced, just authentic me energy. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that I have also experienced, I'm like, I have all these thoughts that I want to
Yeah.
respond to. Organism in your brain, Chelsea. I think that I have found that too when I'm going through something that's really big and heavy, or even if not just something where I feel like there's been a lot of inner work, I find on the other side, oh, that was for a reason. That was preparing me for this next thing. And so you're not alone in that, feeling like, oh yeah, this is we don't know what it is for yet. And the other thing that I was thinking as you were talking is that my next two questions you already answered, which is beautiful, which is, how do you live, in freedom and in your efforts to create quality of life, and then where are you challenged? So that was perfectly
Wow. Yeah.
living out the thing that you're actually saying, which is, I'm going to be a little messy, and I'm going to explain, and I'm going to, and because I'm thinking too of like messy, especially in our culture, especially for us women who are trying to be in a successful position. Messy is a four-letter word. Like, do not come messy. You have to look a certain way, you have to be a certain way, and we don't have time for anything that is messy. Well, so what's messy? Emotional,
Mm-hmm.
authentic,
Mm-hmm.
caring outside of ourselves, needing other people.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I don't know. You've got me thinking about that of like, yeah, what's messy? And I like messy. I don't like drama messy personally.
Oh,
That's a
yes.
whole nother
No.
thing. But I think just the
Yes.
judgments that we have, tend to be, messy's,
Yeah.
you know?
So to add to that, I was with my coach yesterday. We were exploring the ideas of like judgment and guilt and shame. And she was like, "Do you ever feel like shame for messiness?" And I'm like, I am not familiar with the feeling of shame. I think I've been gifted a very, like, oh, I love my mom. My mom is my best friend and grew up like kind of like a sister to me. So we have a very interesting relationship as adults now, but where I find myself sometimes in the mother role, which is funny. But it works really well for us. But shame is not something that was ever thrust upon me growing up. I was able to sort of um, be, and maybe it wasn't always received right, but I never felt shame for who I was. And that's a gift and a privilege.
Nice.
I do, however, experience levels of guilt for things. And we were trying to differentiate, like, what's the difference? And I'm like, I think shame is something when it kind of externalizes, whereas like guilt is to me an internal battle of like, if somebody knew that I was struggling with this, or if somebody knew that I was having these sort of questions or these thoughts or whatever, like, then it would cause shame. But right now it's just guilt. And I think that is kind of sort of like where I find myself struggling with it, where it's like, you know, I am my worst critic. I judge myself for some of these messy things that come up, and whether it be like the way I'm perceived, or like how I'm understood, or like um, even valued, sort of professionally and interpersonally. And it's the key to that, though, is like releasing that sense of judgment, because truly, how can you judge yourself if you're literally just doing your best? How can you tell,
Yeah.
like, and you only know that you're doing that. Like, I don't know what Chelsea's best really ultimately looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what your best is. You know when you're bringing 110%, like, to the table, or even the best that day might look like 70%. But
Right.
you're the only one that really knows. So how can you judge yourself if you're doing your maximum output for that, whatever that thing
Yeah.
is? Because all I know is Chelsea shows up and she gives me her heart and she shows up with intention. Like, that's all I need to know. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why I battle. That's why I struggle with it. And I think to tie it back to like, I forgot even what prompted me to think about it in that way. Um,
We were
yeah,
talking
I'll
about the
leave it there.
distinction between guilt and shame at the beginning and,
Yes. Yeah.
showing up authentically. And what
Yeah. So,
we were talking about messy and the judgment on messy.
messiness.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the self judgment that comes in with that, like, before you can even think about somebody else judging you, you're judging yourself first.
Yeah.
And like, how do we skip that step and just let it land? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. And it's an important distinction that you've made between guilt and shame that I don't think a lot of us have really taken the time to think about and break down. And yeah, let it land.
just see where it lands
Yeah.
before you even start counting yourself out.
Yeah.
I think shame comes in a lot with like the work I do, where like, people make mistakes, and um, you know, not everyone is worthy of the redemption yet, but there is always potential for you to be worthy of those things. And it has to start with you first. Like, do you believe that you're worthy of those things? Do you think you deserve forgiveness? Have you forgiven yourself for the things you've done?
Yeah.
Um,
Well, if I can pause you really quickly, because I
yeah.
think this is a really good segue into talking about what you do, what
Yeah.
you what you said, what you get to do. And just to share
Yes.
with everybody, the way that I met Bree was through a volunteering experience that has absolutely changed my life and is part of the reason why I am where I am right now and having this discussion. And I found myself getting emotional at the work. And I don't even want to call it work. It is work because it's your job and you get paid for it. And, you know, you probably couldn't afford to do it on a volunteer basis, but who knows? But I feel very emotional at what the team that you're on and the people that you really intentionally try to touch so that their life can be better, so that our humanity can be better. With that, would you mind sharing what it is you
Yes.
do for work? And I have a piggyback question that I'd like for you to answer because I would love to hear about how your idea of freedom has transformed in this process in this time that you've been doing what you're doing.
Yes. Happily. Yeah, so I serve now as the director of volunteer programs for Defy Ventures, which is a nonprofit, a national nonprofit, so that we serve in several regions across the country. We teach an entrepreneurship training program, 7 to 9 month program in prisons and post release to folks who are ready to build a new life for themselves. So this program is like 2,000 pages of curriculum, 4 thick doorstop looking books, um, covering topics like, healthy relationships, meaningful apologies, um, reclaiming relationship, like reclaiming broken relationships, self-limiting beliefs, uh, and also we talk on like career readiness and like sort of resumes, interviewing, speaking about yourself. All of this is done though through the lens of entrepreneurship and being a business owner. So when thinking about like accountability, as a as a regular person, you can think of accountability as whatever. But if you're a business owner, accountability is a huge piece
Yeah.
of your business. So we're able to teach and instill these ideas that are deeper rooted and oftentimes are collected along the way in life through experiences, but these folks have been removed from the opportunities to fully experience some of those things. So we get to sort of teach them through this lens that everyone can kind of understand. Like the curriculum is called CEO of Your New Life. So you're the boss of this business that you want to run for yourself. It is incredible. What I love the most about it is that obviously, like teaching is great, but to really instill these lessons, we get to leverage folks from the business community to come into prison with us, sit one on one with our entrepreneurs in training, our EITs. That's what we get to call the people inside. Um, and first of all, just be present and just connect. Ultimately, that is what the day is. But in addition, they get coaching, our entrepreneurs in training get coaching from these business community volunteers. They sit one on one, hand over a very rough draft resume. They get coaching on like impact and sort of the qualities that they've brought to their work. Many of them undersell themselves. They don't consider a lot of the things that they've done inside as job experience. So we get to like pump them up and gas them up like, no, look at the impact you've had. Had you not done that, what would have been the repercussion? And then their whole thing changes like, oh, I did have impact.
Mm-hmm.
We also get to coach on their personal statements, like speaking about sort of the life that they've led, but where they want to go with the things they've learned. And then halfway through, we get to coach them on like rough draft business ideas. So whether it be like a mobile barbershop or like a life coaching business, or maybe they have a trade from before they were incarcerated that they finally want to launch a plumbing business or whatever that might be. They take all of that coaching after that event, polish up their business pitches, and present that 3-minute pitch in a Shark Tank style pitch competition at the end of the program. We get first through fifth place winners at the end of that event day. And we host a cap and gown graduation that day, as well as they receive a certificate of entrepreneurship from the Drucker School of Business Management. So it's certified and it's just powerful beyond that. I will say the double bottom line to this organization I get to work for is not only are we obviously shifting perspectives and outlooks with the folks who are currently and formerly incarcerated, we also get to shift mindsets of our volunteers coming in. So many people come in with the idea that, prison is the last place you want to be. I worked my whole life to not end up there. But truly, many like it boils down to a circumstance, a zip code, the color of your skin that changed your trajectory to not maybe end up in their shoes. So on those event days, we do activities to sort of level that playing field and realize that we're actually not, there's more that makes us alike than different. And ultimately, you're returning back to your communities to help share like, hey, there's a whole forgotten population and it's our duty to like be there for them. Because ultimately, what good is it to prepare this workforce to come home if society's not going to be ready to receive them and support them in their second chance? So we
Yeah.
get to help both communities, and it's such a privilege to witness human connection at such a boiled down, like super duper, like potent level. And
Yes.
so leveraging that to sort of influence the way I thought about freedom, I'm dealing with folks who don't have the literal definition of freedom. They're not free by definition. But I had the privilege of sitting down with like 20 of our entrepreneurs in training a couple months ago, and I asked each of them many questions. But at the end of the interviews, I asked them, like, what does freedom mean to you? And I will tell you, for every single one, it was not tangible. It was something bigger. Freedom, he's like, I used to think it was money. One of them said, I used to think it was money, like financial freedom. He's like, no way. I was battling things when I was on the outside, I was battling things that had me in chains.
Yeah.
He told me, I find myself living every day so free in here. I'm so released from all those things that were holding me down. You know, people often say that the worst day outside is still better than the best day inside. And many of them will go back and say, like,
Mm.
no, I had incredible days in prison because that was probably my most free I've ever been. Um, heart, in head, like in community. So it's really changed me from thinking freedom as financial freedom or like I own my own business or like even career ready, like being career centered. Like I can feel free anywhere. At a moment's notice, I can choose to be free if I want to.
Yeah.
Um, ultimately, I think for some people it's not a choice, but for us, we have the privilege to choose it, and we would be, I think, just not leveraging our privilege enough to just choose it.
Yeah. One of the things I found through this joining you all on the volunteering and coaching on these days experience is the importance of creating community, creating a level playing field, right? We are at a basic level, we are all human. We all come with the things and our circumstances and our choices from our circumstances are in some ways what define us differently.
Hmm.
That is a broad statement because that is not always true. Right? And
Hmm.
but one of the things that I found that I experienced from this program was from helping out with this program has been the awareness that we can't do this by ourselves. We need people to come alongside us and to, like, I mean, it's like I've known this, but to be able to see that in reality and actuality of we need each other. We need people who are not in our situations to love on us. We need people who are in our situation to love on us. And we don't flourish without those kind of strong and safe and cultivated and healthier growing relationships. And I've gotten to experience that with some of the interactions that I have had with the people that are in the program.
Yeah.
And it's been, like I've said earlier, it's just been an amazing and beautiful, beautiful thing that you all are doing and helping others with. And it is, we all, I think some of us all live in a life of like, I want to create change. I want to be, live in purpose. And I truly see you all creating change within how we're operating in our lives. So thank you for that.
No, thank you. I think thanks for trusting us because obviously the environment that we enter is something that literally there's no reason for you to be there. Like you work hard to avoid going there, right? Like that's the whole like we operate, like we follow the law and we do these things. Like signing up to volunteer, there's a level of trust in us to guide you and bring you a place that like you can feel free to just be in. Like
Yeah.
there's a level of trust there. So thank you for trusting us and for showing up. And you never let excuses stop you, which is something I didn't realize was a thing until this job. Where like, wow, we let our fear stop us. We let,
Yeah.
external circumstances, whatever. You never let that happen. So thank you so much for being a woman of your word and modeling that for our entrepreneurs in training as well. It's huge.
Yeah. And okay, so to piggyback on that, y'all have made it easy. Because I remember the very first time that I experienced this, did not know what to experience. I literally was like, I'm not gonna wear any makeup. I'm gonna be just, really demure and not calling
Hmm.
attention to myself. And and then when I heard, no, they're excited to, be professional, be yourself. They're excited to get a breath from, what's going on outside. But it was so well executed in a way that it was so professional. When we were supposed to do something, we were doing something. Everything from the writing curriculum to being really clear on what was going to happen throughout the day made it so that it created this place of safety. And I remember walking away going, I have volunteered in so many other experiences, and this was the best, most polished experience I've ever been involved with. So I was like, okay, I'm coming back. I can't wait to come back.
Well, that makes me feel so good. I think it makes me feel really validated because if you could see the internal backflips that I'm doing of like, okay, which my mom does volunteer with us several times a year, I want my mom to enter this experience feeling prepared, confident, at ease, ready to go, like can expect the unexpected.
Yeah.
I try and tailor the directions, all the communications, the accessibility to me to ask me anything you're wondering as if it was my mom. And so I'm happy to hear that that has landed really well.
Yeah.
And I don't do it by myself. We have a team here in SoCal. And so I definitely want to uplift our fearless leader and executive director of SoCal's Defy Ventures chapter, Quan Nguyen, who is formerly incarcerated, having served over 22 years of his life in prison. He had a life sentence. And he has brought every experience that he's had in his life to the table for these events
Yeah.
to model and show both sides of the line, both incarcerated persons and our volunteers, the experience that the value of both of them showing up for those days. So in collaboration with him and the rest of our team, like I'm so proud of what we're able to pull off with so little.
Yeah.
And yeah, I invite folks if they're hesitant, curious, on the fence, like lean over and we'll catch you. We got you. It's the best thing. I think also like prison work is really taboo, and I think celebrities will do it, and then it's like, oh, or a crime TV show or whatever. Like it's like yes, and so much more.
So much
There's
more.
incredible folks inside, and I would love for you to meet them, and I'd love for them to meet you in your most authentic way.
Yes.
So
Yes, exactly. And then one maybe final thing. A lot of times when I say final, I end up saying more after that. But so maybe one final thing is that, there's this importance of us feeling like a problem is remedied. Someone is charged with someone and then they get put away. And there we go. You got your penance. But that's not really the end of the story. What you all are doing is making it so that people are prepared to come back out and live a different life so that they don't find themselves in those positions again and other people don't find themselves in positions again. And so I think that's the importance of just, not putting people away and then just being like, okay, the problems are solved, because the problems are not solved. It's making people kind of go away, the situation go away, and we do in some ways there might be some justice. I'm not going to go down that road.
mhm.
But there's just that reality. We're human, we're people, and that's all I can say about that.
No, I am right there with you. I think at the end of the day, we're all just trying, hopefully, to do our best.
Yes.
And
Yeah. Okay, so here's my really final thing. The one thing that I have seen, one of the things I've seen within the program is that the people that are involved in the program that I've experienced, they've been doing the work. They're trying to make their life better. They're trying to do the internal things to help them live in their own version of freedom. And most of that is within their mind and their heart and maybe even their soul. So again, thank you for all that you're doing, and thank you for this opportunity and taking this time out of your day to just chat with me and let me know more about you, let others know more about you, and share this bigger picture that you are working towards with our
yeah,
community.
thank you. The last thing I'll say is, a friend told me a long time ago that like when you sort of start to self-actualize and like unlock new levels of thinking, being, doing, like you have a duty to sort of help folks on that journey too. It's
Yeah.
not just exclusive, like you should bring people with you. And so I try and model that. So this is, I think, a way of just being like, hey, if me being vulnerable and messy and like just honest, authentic, helps just one person, then like, yeah, well done.
Yes. Here's to being messy.
Cheers. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Bree.
Thanks, Chelsea. You have a great rest of your day, and I know I will see you soon.
Next week, I speak with Jessica Suzanne. She discusses her journey of realizing her superpower and her calling to share it with other women.
You know, we follow the path that the world wants us to take, and we live our lives from the expectations of what we've been taught, what other people are doing, what we think success is.
I'm Chelsea. I'm here to help women build and incorporate quality of life into our everyday busy lives. See you next week.